Knoll Nation. Boy, howdy. That is not exactly what any of us had pictured for this trip to Boston. We had threats of a hurricane all week. The later and later the week got, the farther east and the farther east Hurricane Lee tracked. Florida State survived a close hit, maybe getting this game postponed or moved. The ACC didn't really address it, got on a lot of our nerves. Florida State played it safe. They headed down to Boston on Wednesday in plenty of time to kind of get accustomed. But that kind of trap game, team showing up, kind of sleepwalking through a first half, we got that all this week. If there's a positive to take from it, it happened the week before Clemson, guys. It happened the week before Clemson. Man, I decided I was going to take notes of this game. That went somewhat sporadic. I've got 10 pages here of trying to keep track as the game went along. Started out rough. Boston College scored on their first 2 possessions. We scored on our first 3 possessions. We get that stop finally. From that point on, we go on to score again. We score on 4 out of our first 5 drives. End up scoring a few more times and go on a 28-point run. Next thing you know, it's 31-10. Well, from that point, everything kind of went downhill again. It was just really, really ugly. From that point on, they went on to score 12 points in a row, maybe even more. I'd have to look back. They get all the way within 2 points, 31-29. And luckily, the defense is able to hold. Jordan Travis pulls it out. Guys, we survived a scare. It was coming. At some point in time this year, all championship teams have to be able to fight through adversity. Jordan Travis, he got hurt at one point in the game. He gets hit really hard on his shoulder and his wrist area there. We weren't sure exactly what was going on with him. We weren't sure if he was going to come out after half, what the deal was. He stayed on the sideline with his helmet on. Almost thought he was going to come back there all of a sudden for that last play of the half, but they sent Tate Rodemaker out there to finish it up. And again, like I said, we came out in the second half. All of a sudden, third quarter, we're thinking we're cruising along, open up that big lead. And we thought everything was going to be good, but it wasn't. I want to thank everybody for joining me here. My name is George. I'm the owner-operator at the Renegade Report. You can check out my channel right here on YouTube at the Renegade Report. Did a preview with Adrian over at 863_Seminoles TV. We kind of talked about nightmare scenarios and, the kind of the worst possible things that could happen that we did not want to see, playing a Boston College team that just came off struggling with Holy Cross. But at the same time, we talked about Castellanos, man. He's an athlete. He wasn't the starter coming in. They found him in that first game, lost, ended up pulling out the Holy Cross win. I know none of y'all want to hear this, but that little dude is a playmaker. He was out there making plays. To be honest, look, they had like 15, 16, 17, 18 penalties against them. There's no reason they should have been anywhere in this game. And I had a few people text me during the game just looking at the box score, and I'm like, man, Boston College is really running the ball well. Castellanos ran the ball well. We had a lot of trouble with him. He was just a ball player out there. Every time the defensive line would lose contain, he made them pay for it. He was not running to pass. He just ran, and he was running all over the place for a while. All in all, with all the mistakes, the sloppy game, everything, that happened, it was still 31-17. And you have the critical error from Lawrence Toafili fumbling that ball. That really hurts, guys. That is not a championship play. That's the kind of thing we saw, when the dam finally burst in 2014 and Dalvin Cook was fumbling all over the place. Jameis Winston couldn't hold on to the ball in the playoff game. So again, to try to bring it back to a positive, if anything, it happened now. It happened game 3 against Boston College. I hear you, man. Look, we're all upset. It's aggravating. I'm sure the mood in that locker room is there's not much of a celebration going on. I'll be interested to see when they break the rock, kind of the mood of the locker room. It was not a fun game. You almost lose your quarterback. He gets shaken up against the Boston College team. We're favored by 26 going into this game. So will we drop in the polls? There's a chance we could drop a few spots. But look, at the end of the day, we're 3-1. LSU across the nation looked great today. They blew out Mississippi State. The game was going on at the same time. I didn't get to see a ton of it, but I did see the scores coming across. I think they put up 40, held 45-17 type game against Mississippi State over there. So that'll help us within the polls. We handled Southern Miss last week. We just didn't have our best game this game. Nothing to hang our hat. It happens. The biggest thing is we came away with a victory. Mario Cristigo with coming through with the stat there. 18 penalties, a missed extra point, and a failed 2-point conversion. Absolutely, yeah. BC, it was all that quarterback and Robichaud, man, they ran him a ton on those short yardage situations. We've got to get better on that. Look, we didn't. Nobody on the team had their best game. It's not like there's somebody to really harp on and say, well, this player had an outstanding game and kept us in there. We'll have to, look back at the replay, and I'll circle back and go through this thing quarter by quarter and how it kind of played out. But there's no reason with a Boston College playing that sloppy and as air free as Florida State played most of the year and even parts of this game, especially the third quarter. There's no reason they should have been in that game. Kareem with the super chat. Appreciate you, Kareem Abdul. Pretty much FSU can't handle dual threat quarterbacks. Well, here's what I'll say. There's a heck of a dual threat quarterback that rests over there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And Jaden Daniels had a big game against Mississippi State in their conference opener. He looked great. They dominated, blew out Mississippi State. I don't think so much it's a dual threat quarterback. I think it's one of those things where as much as you want to talk about the climb and taking it step by step, day by day, practice by practice, team by team, they were sleepwalking in this game, guys. They underestimated Castellanos. They underestimated Boston College. This red bandana game, they underestimated the line of scrimmage, the game they were going to play. And look, they got showed up today. Jeff Hafley has said this is the best Boston College team that he's had. Everybody was calling him crazy. Wow, did you see the first 2 weeks of your team, buddy? Well, look, we've been there as Florida State. We've seen a Florida State team a couple of years ago when Mike Norvell was still new, year 2 on the job, lose to a Jackson State team a few weeks after taking a top 10 Notre Dame team to the wire, to overtime. So it's just one of those things. I don't know, because the adjustments look great at the beginning of the second half. And like I said, we're about to go back through and I'll read my notes, go through this whole thing quarter by quarter, exactly how it went down. We didn't handle a running quarterback well today. That's for sure. And it's been something that we've had problems, year over year, unfortunately. But I don't think this is going to be an issue for Florida State more than anybody else in the country has issues with running quarterbacks. We've got Jordan Travis, and we watch him tear, teams up week in and week out. So, it's kind of one of those things to where the guys are going to have a big game every once in a while. I'd rather it be Castellanos this week than Will Shipley next week. We're going to have to figure out, get that together. We're not going to be able to let Cade Klubnik pick up first down after first down with his feet. If they want to watch this film and try to do that, we'll see what happens. My guy, I'm not even going to attempt that name, but look, these red bandana games are no joke. There's no doubt. It's like night games at NC State. Other conferences, you get given free passes for losing conference openers against teams like a Ole Miss or a Missouri. Just took down a Kansas State team that was number 15. An unranked Missouri team took down number 15 Kansas State. They took them down. They didn't win. They didn't have a scare. They lost to Missouri, one of the worst teams in the SEC. LSU got a big win against Mississippi State. That's great. They look great. That helps our strength of schedule. I just don't want you guys freaking out and overreacting to this thing. I wouldn't go so bad as you see people say things like embarrassing in the chat. Uh, Mr. Green overreacting. I'm not going to throw that one up there. You guys don't have to worry. We're not getting blown out by Clemson. Just relax. We'll go back and watch the film. We're going to be good. We are going to be good. I don't see Lawrence Toafili having a big fumble like that again. And it's one game, guys. One 11 o'clock game with high winds, facing a hurricane all week. A weird situation, a letdown game, coming off multiple, kind of highs with the Hall of Fame game in your home opener last week, bouncing off, riding the high from LSU the week before. You took down an LSU team 45-24 that just destroyed a middling SEC West team in Mississippi State this week. Okay, it's what's good for one is good for the other. LSU lost by 20-something points. They're still ranked. They're about to move up in the rankings from 14 to who knows where after their big win today. They might creep back into the top 10. We're not gonna, don't underestimate these Noles right now off of one bad game, and absolutely we cannot underestimate. We'll just put the word up there. We cannot underestimate our opponent. This is something we harped on going into this game. It happened. It had to have happened. There's no way to explain it. I don't know. You can't explain the late third and early fourth quarter errors as being nervous or taking them lightly. It's just the ball bounces a funny way, and it did not bounce any of our way. I don't see LSU jumping us in any way, shape, or form after one game. I think Boston College is just better than what we thought the first 2 weeks of the season, and it's a wild year in college football. You heard a lot of transfers names called against Boston College. This is year 3 for Jeff Hafley. Like, these guys get paid to coach too. Like I said, we'll go back and look at the film. When you look at the first quarter, we start off. One bright note, if I'm going to look at the bright note of this game, Johnny Wilson. Okay, you want to talk about a player who redeemed himself and was a big part of this game and making sure Florida State went score for score with Boston College, got that massive lead, and didn't end up getting upset at the end of the day. Johnny Wilson with 2 big catches on the first drive to go down there. We go down there and get a field goal. Keon Coleman, guys, he ended up, I believe, 0 catches. This week was his week to have kind of a rough game. He didn't have, I'm not sure if you can call either his first misses there early drops, but they were misses. One was kind of a ball over the middle where Jordan Travis a little late on it. If he gets it to him as a touchdown. Another one more kind of in his wheelhouse, one of those 50-50 balls he likes to say, or 80-20. Didn't go his way. He had a drop. Another bright spot, if you want to, look at it, the kicker made his kicks today. There were a couple wobbly extra points, but he made his field goals. He did what he had to do as far as the kicking game. And you want to talk about a game by 2 points? Hey, Ryan Fitzgerald missing a field goal or an extra point like he had in years past in those LSU or not LSU Louisville game last year, maybe that NC State game last year. You're afraid to kick a field goal. You didn't have that issue in this game, so you came out with the victory, guys. Well, we got the victory. At the end of the day, we got the victory. At that point in the first half, Boston College gets the ball after our drive, and they go up 10-3. They could have, in years past, this team could have shrunk right there, but they didn't. Florida State goes right down, scores again, makes it 10-10. And, I have on my sheet here, it's in giant letters, Castellano. Because I kept talking about him and all the lead up to the game. I felt like people were kind of brushing him off. Yeah, he's a fine athlete, this or that. I'm not sure. I got to get with my guy, Chris from Spear Addicts. I think he might have called a 3-point game. Said, everybody, you're going to call me crazy. I hope I'm wrong. We were all in the 17 to 21 point range. I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I have to check with him, but I'm pretty sure that he actually did. And he was right on the button, guys. It happened. Castellanos had a great game. Okay, it's just how it goes. It's 10-10. Oh, what do we got here? What do we want to talk about next? The base screen game in the second quarter. But guys, I was getting pretty upset on some of the plays. A lot of the plays that early on that Boston College was hitting a lot of these basic screen plays. They hit one of those same plays where they send a guy over the middle and then replace him with a running back on a wheel route. And still to this day, for the third straight game, our corners are going with the initial guy. They're not dropping and passing their guy on in coverage. Too many big plays for Boston College in the first half on just kind of standard, nice easy out, screen passes, stuff like that. Things that are highly dependent on a quarterback putting in the ball in the perfect kind of position, you know, to make a play. Where if the quarterback throws it a little bit behind the running back, all of a sudden that's a 2 yard pass. But if he throws it 2 yards ahead of him, next thing you know, their back, Robichaud, or one of the other little backs they have, makes it out, breaks it loose for a 2, 3, 4, 5 yard gain. But I could sit here and talk about Castellanos running the ball all day long. But another big thing in the first half, especially guys wide open over the center of the field. I don't know if that's a kind of a big thing with Akeem Dent obviously being out for this game, or more something with our linebackers. I know Kalen DeLoach got rattled, got shaken up in some point in time in this game. He didn't have his absolute best game. He was like right there on a few plays. Tatum Bethune in that first half is a big reason the Noles hung in there, guys. He did have a big half. Helped to be kind of have some big time negative plays. We didn't have any big time turnovers or anything. Darion Williamson, a guy we talked a lot about in the spring, made some big plays when we were tied 10-10 to take it to 17-0. He had a big time play for a touchdown. I believe they had a 15-yard face mask call again against him, which he kept his composure. Just a really good game for a guy like that, somebody who you wouldn't expect. You wouldn't expect Keon Coleman to have, no catches and Darion Williamson to come out here and have a couple with a touchdown. Trey Benson never really got going. He never, got in one of those Trey Benson grooves where he's chomping off 30, 40-yard runs. You have the big mistake later on we'll get to, but, still 17-10 early on. I was happy with, for the most, there's not much to talk about there. Coming out in the second half, continuing the theme for the first half, Johnny Wilson, I wrote down Johnny Wilson is catching fire. That's another big thing headed into Clemson. I don't know what happened to the rest of the team. I don't know where kind of some of the self-inflicted wounds come from. But like I said, I'll continue to say it again. A big time positive we can take from this game is Johnny Wilson getting on track. He was making big time catches, pass interference pass interference calls for first downs. We get into the red zone, touchdown for Preston Daniel to end right there at the first drive of the first half. At that point, like I said earlier, we were 4-5 on drive scoring, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, that was really painful. That first half we were on pins and needles, but the guys are doing what they're supposed to. They're kind of taking over this ball game. DJ Lundy, a guy that I absolutely love. He's your third linebacker, but man, he's going to get in that conversation for maybe being in that, maybe one of the top 2 linebackers on this year, because he's having a great year. Tatum Bethune's having a great year. Like I said, Kalen DeLoach kind of got dinged up, but DJ Lundy pulls down a massive interception right there, right after that touchdown. And then they turn around to hit Jaheim Bell. He gets a touchdown, or almost gets a touchdown. They review it, call it back. I don't care who you are. That was a touchdown. In my book, Jaheim Bell definitely got in for that touchdown, but they, again, didn't give it to him. And I can't remember who scored the touchdown here. JT 13, right after that, drew the offensive side. Oh, that's right. Mike Norvell, after DJ Lundy gets the interception at 24-0, we go down, get it to the half-yard line, and who comes in? Give it to the damn fullback. I know my guy James Coleman was pumped up on his couch or on his couch. I'm sure he was probably in the media box in Boston, but James Coleman was fired up for that move. Mike Norvell bringing in number 10 on offense. The commentators thought it was A.J. Duffy getting put in at fullback on the goal line. Thankfully for the Noles, it was not A.J. Duffy. It was D.J. Lundy, and he drives it in 31-10, and we're balling, guys. We're in a good mood. I'm happy. I'm sitting here. I'm writing in big letters, nice and clean on my notepad. I'm thinking about how I can get in here and talk shit in the post game. Use my language. Kareem Abdul comes in with another super chat. Thank you, Kareem. You're the man. Like, Kareem is always in here in these things, throwing out super chats with great comments. We appreciate you, Kareem. You're like a sponsor for us, almost. We're going to get to our sponsor in a minute, but let's read Kareem's super chat. We can't be a second half team like 2014. Hey, I totally agree, man. I think the verdict's out yet, right? You know, this is the first ACC game of the year, but when you look at it, it took a second half domination against LSU to put that one away. So, you know, you played well enough in that first half of that LSU game to where, I don't know, that was a tough game. That was number 5 in a neutral site. But it's fair to call that a second half win. You dominated that fourth quarter, and that was really where the fat was separated from the curd on that one. So we'll give you that. Southern Miss was a complete victory. That was an FBS team. The Sun Belt is no joke. They're a threat to win the Sun Belt this year. I'm not sure if they've played yet this week or how they've looked, but they've got some real playmakers over there. I was super happy with our performance in Southern Miss. That definitely wasn't a 2014-esque performance. This week, man, guys, I was just talking about it. I was smiling. I was getting ready to get on here and talk my stuff. It felt like 2013 Boston College. When they go up quick, I believe it was 17-14 in the first half. They were playing tit for tat, just like in this game. And then at the end of the play, Jameis makes a big-time play to take the lead to Kenny Shaw down the sideline. And in the second half, domination. Well, we came out second half domination in the third quarter. It looked like it. We go up 31-10. But then Kareem, unfortunately, it went back to 2014 against Oregon in the in the Rose Bowl. Not to bring that up, but horrible memories. But that's what was going on. You know, Trey Benson muffing that kickoff or punt or whatever it was. I don't even want to think about it. It was just, you know, flashback to a terrible era when you had a linebacker and I won't say any names, but just one of those ridiculous things where the ball's right there, you reach for it, then you go to fall on it, but it's behind you, so you have no shot. I don't know who that was. If it was a backup quarterback, a holder, a long snapper, or what was coming to try to help. He had no chance with 4 or 5 Boston College players with their hair on fire. This red bandana game is no joke, guys. You know, I agree. You know, they teach you not to so much dive vertically against that ball, but to get sideways. It's hard for us to say, man, as you know, kind of couch quarterbacks. It was a tough play. I know he didn't do it as they draw it up. They had him so worried about an onside kick, and then they squib it there. Bad decision. Later on, Keon Coleman on a punt makes a similar, almost exact poor decision, except for it ends up bouncing out of bounds. Luckily, we get lucky there. The ball goes out of bounds. And we survived on that one. But, you know, as a whole, we survived. Kareem Abdul, I cussed like 20 times when that happened. Buddy, Noel Nation was cussing with you. But look, let me give you a pep talk, Noel Nation. That thing was just a heartbreaker, man. So many plays that uncharacteristic. You don't expect to see Toafili just basically handing up a touchdown on a platter. You know, it's reminiscent of that goal line play early last year that they, you know, fixed up, you know, old kind of skeletons coming to bear here. You face an athletic quarterback that kind of just, he made a name for himself. Castellanos, this guy, I promise you, watch the rest of the ACC schedule, and you're going to see this dude running around. But what I want you to do is I want you to look around the country and see how many teams are 3-0. How many teams in the SEC fell to ACC teams opening weekend? How many teams are going to fall this week in a, you know, pretty innocuous week? There weren't supposed to be any close games. You know, we end up in this terrible nightmare of a game with wins against another running quarterback. We're looking in the mirror at this guy running around, throwing, making plays. You know, Castellanos give it to him, man. He was confusing the defense. He was making throws like he was, Lamar Jackson or whoever. I'm trying to think of a good, reference point or somebody to compare to. He doesn't have the arm of a Kyler Murray, but he damn sure had a strong arm. But he's running around back there like Kyler Murray, just making play after play after play. They had 18 penalties. 18 penalties, guys. And then he kept them in that game. You have to give it, if anything we're going to do, we're going to give Boston College their credit because those kids played their absolute hind ends off. I can't be more excited. At the end of the day, though, that the Noles got the victory, guys. The Noles got the victory. I hate to kind of probe into this thing too much more. I'll let y'all get some questions in. Talk about this thing. I'm telling you, Kareem, 18 penalties is wild. But also want you guys to know about our sponsors. Ticket Smarter is going to help you guys out. I want you to save on your next trip, okay? Your next trip to the big game, save with Ticket Smarter. Get $10 off your order of $100 or more by using the promo code BIG. Okay, use the promo code BIG at checkout, and you'll save $10 off. Also, you can get $20 off any order over $300 or more with the promo code BIG20. Again, that's BIG20 on any order over $300, and you can save $20 back in your pocket, guys. No sweat. You can use these codes as much as you want to. There's unlimited purchase as long as you use Ticket Smarter, and TicketSmarter.com is safe and guaranteed. There's no better place to get started. Remember your promo codes, all caps, BIG and BIG20 for those. And jump in on Ticket Smarter and get that. Go follow me at the Renegade Report right here on YouTube. I kind of I don't even want to look through those next couple pages. I don't want to talk to you too much and harp, specifics on how we go down because it's not so much play calling. I thought the play calling was all right. I thought Adam Fuller's defense came to compete. They just did not execute. There's that famous line from Brian Kelly. That first week when we took them to overtime, he got in a bunch of trouble for making this joke where he said, "Yeah, I'm in favor of execution." He was talking about execution on the football field, kind of a triple entendre with executing his players as a penalty for not executing on the football field, and it didn't go over well. But he would have said the same exact thing about this performance. That's the kind of performance they had. There's no reason this team shouldn't have covered the spread easily. They easily could have covered the spread at 30, by 31 points. At one time, we're up 31-10. Defense filling their gaps, offense making plays, and then you start fumbling the ball. Bad plays add up. Bad plays add up. On to Clemson. Look, guys, Clemson got blown out 28-7 by Duke week 1. I'm not going to sit here and nitpick our team and sit here and give y'all a doomsday scenario where we go out and we have no chance against Clemson next week. I don't believe that. I haven't put in a prediction since the very beginning of the season when I predicted we would beat LSU and lose to Clemson, end up 3-1 after the first 4 weeks. I've changed that prediction, folks. I'll just say that much. I'm not going to be picking Clemson to win this game next week, even though I picked them preseason to beat us and for us to come back and get them in the ACC championship. I'm leaning more towards Clemson not even making the ACC championship, but who knows? They've got something to prove. What we cannot do as a team is show up kind of how we showed up in this Boston College game. We cannot assume that Clemson, they got blown out by Duke. They haven't been looking great. They played with Charleston Southern for half. Well, look, guys, we played with Boston College for 4 quarters, and it just about cost us, okay? It didn't cost us, but it did. It could have. It easily could have. Florida State goes away with the victory. That's the main thing. Yeah, absolutely, Kareem. Duke has been very competitive lately. The ACC as a whole cannot be slept on this year. The 1-year transfer portal, the COVID, what you want to call it, the COVID eligibility that the epidemic created with all these extra years for these players, all these 5th, 6th, 7th year seniors, 6th year guys like Jordan Travis, a lot of 5th year guys that are actually playing their 5th year. The landscape has changed. You don't have these 2 or 3 teams at the top and no one can compete. You saw Bama get beat by Texas. They're kind of like they're a hot team like Florida State. Going into this week, Florida State was seen as more of the smooth sailing, more of the more complete, deep team, more veteran team that you could trust more than Texas, as they were kind of breaking into the top four with their win over Alabama. But now, that narrative could be flipped. We're going to hear from guys on the timeline. This wasn't the flashy, big time Florida State go drop, drop your, for less of a better term, cojones and win a big game like this. It just wasn't that. It was a survival down to the last second, but at the end of the day, it was a victory. You're 3-0. You're 3-0 with Clemson on deck. You can get through that Clemson game on deck. The ceiling is there. You can do anything you want to as a Florida State Seminole. And again, not to harp on, Duke team that is very good. And it looks like that Duke team could be one of your toughest teams on your schedule. But Clemson is no perfect angel. This isn't juggernaut Clemson that we've seen in years past. This is a very beatable Clemson team. And I'm here to tell you right now, do not expect to see the same Florida State football team that you saw this week at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern, whatever you want to call it, this early game in Boston, New England, in 20, 30-mile-an-hour winds with a young quarterback no one's ever seen before, just tearing it up for Boston College, running all over the place, 30 penalties, whatever penalties combined there were in the game. You're not going to see Trey Benson muff a punt. You're not going to see Keon Coleman with 0 catches. One thing you will see, you're going to see more Jaheim Bell in this offense. I have a feeling moving forward, they're going to do more with Jaheim Bell in the screen game, up the seam, maybe a little bit of Kyle Morlock. I think this game may be a kind of wake-up call for Mike Norvell and the staff of maybe a little bit less the Ohio State deep shot. Maybe you fake some deep shots. Maybe you scheme up, like I said, more stuff to Jaheim Bell short. Get a little bit more creative with the counter game again. Maybe get a little tricky show. Do some things we haven't shown all year. Run on early downs, run on first down against Clemson. Make no mistake about it. This team showed up slow, kind of sleepy. We're not sure what the exact game plan was. I can't wait to see what Mike Norvell and the coordinators have to say after the game. But they will have a game plan for Clemson. And this was not representative of the team that we have as a whole. And I think hopefully it lights the fire under their ass that we needed. Hopefully this was a scare that this team needed. They'll go in the locker room, lick their wounds, get out in the practice field, and get ready for Clemson. JT, I'm not sure exactly what was going on with him. There's some kind of stinger there on his shoulder. I was scared to death it was the collarbone, the way he was holding it a little bit. I wasn't sure if it was his wrist, maybe got the air knocked out of him, dinged up his ribs. We're not going to hear a lot. All we can take from it, giant thing, Jordan Travis did come back into that game. He came back into the game, and he got us the win. At the end of the day, Florida State did what they needed to win the football game. It didn't come down to Jordan Travis having to make a final drive there to win. All he had to do was kill the clock, and he did. It was kind of anticlimactic. It's kind of sad, you had to do that with Boston College right there at the end, have to take a victory pose and not be able to just, tack on another score late. But at the end of the day, that's what they did. We're 3-0, thank goodness. Knowles are 3-0, and yeah, I think everybody's okay. We also have to remember, guys, we talk about depth and how important it is and how deep this team is, and should be able to withstand injuries. But at the end of the day, we were missing critical pieces of this team. Robert Scott, your name starting left tackle heading into the season, out. Maurice Smith, your starting sitter, and just absolute trooper throughout the first 2 games, out. Okay, your starting safety, Hakeem Dent, out. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the tape. I did not see Conrad Hussey very much. I'm not sure if he's dinged up or what the deal is. I was hoping to see a big game out of Conrad Hussey, but I did not. You know, I didn't see much of it, but we'll find out. We'll find out. We'll get in there, be able to look at the tape better. We're gonna do a space later on FSU, the FSU Real Talk crew, me, Chris Frazier of Spear Addicts, and Seymour Stacks. I can't wait to hear what those guys have to say about the whole thing. We'll have some time to look at some highlights. Cooler heads will prevail. You know, Kareem Abdul again up here wanting to know if the backup O-line did was a fifth-year player. If you're talking about the guy that started for Murray Smith at center, absolutely. Darius Washington is a fifth-year guy, and he might be the better center we've had play this year, is what we were kind of talking about into the game. I'll have to go look back at the tape. I didn't see him particularly stick out getting beat or anything like that. I'm not saying that the reason we lost is because we didn't have Scott, able to rotate Scott in there, but it was a hit to your depth, and it obviously, the operation was not crisp. It was not A1 perfect like we were hoping for against a scrappy Boston College team that, luckily now is 1-2. They had us on the ropes. It was looking like both of us were going to go out of there 2-1, but we won, guys. We won. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, sit here and talk about it over and over again. But like I said, you had some positives in the game. Jordan Travis is all right, guys. Enjoy the win, like Kareem just said. Enjoy the win. Enjoy the health of your quarterback, Jordan Travis. And enjoy the fact that we're 3-0. Regardless of what happens, Florida State will still be in top 10 of the polls, controlling our own destiny with a game against Clemson next week. A Clemson that has looked just as shaky. And again, there are teams out there that lost. And I know this hurts. I know it was a heart attack, but all that matters is getting the win. We got the win. We didn't look great. There's no moral victories to be won here. But thanks for joining us. Again, you guys check out Ticket Smarter. Use those promo codes. Again, big and big 20. Big for your purchase of $100 or more to get $10 back. Big 20 for your purchases of $300 or more to get $20 back. Go check me out. My YouTube channel is at the Renegade Report. I want to thank you guys again, like I said, for joining me. Go Noles. We're going to lick our wounds. We're going to get back in there, and we'll get to you. We'll get to talk to you at least Wednesday on the FSU Voice of College Football live stream. And just like Smooth Criminal here said, just win, baby. We love you guys. Go Noles. Love Nole Nation. Thanks again, Kareem, for the super chats. We'll see you next time.